I was first introduced to 50 through a friend of mine named Tracy. People know him as Foo. And he was friends with Sha Money, who was managing 50, was his business partner. So this is in the third year of Don Diva. And I'd been getting messages from Tracy, from Foo, that 50 wanted to be in Don Diva magazine. So I didn't know much about 50. I had met him once before through a homie of mine that used to run the Def Squad record label. Yeah, I was down there talking to him about some Don Diva business, advertising, what have you, whatever. And 50 walked in. He was, he was chubby then. And, he walked in, homie introduced us, and you could tell he was apprehensive, like he was definitely a person who was leery about someone he didn't know. Even meeting in that kind of a circumstance. We were on Broadway off of Houston, that's where the office was. Not too far from where the original Def Jam office was. 2003.
Has the beef with Ja Rule, the stabbing incident, has any of that happened yet?
Yeah. Yeah, this has happened already.
So he's into it with the Supreme team or whatever.
Him and Supreme, they got their issues. Tracy had told me several times, yo, the kid Sha Money, keep calling me, 50 wanted to get in the magazine, yada yada. And I was like, well, the kid is kind of a troublemaker. And, I'm an old school street cat. I don't want to perpetuate, anything that is contributing to a conflict condition within the community, right? I'm in the Don Diva van one day in the Bronx. And I'm about to get out, and I hear Kay Slay, who is sitting in for Angie Martinez at this time, say that he's about to have 50 Cent come on. So this is the first time I'm really taking a moment to listen to what this guy sounds like. Kay is asking him about, in anticipation of what's about to happen, about, the windfall you're about to receive. How are you going to respond? Are you going to do this? You're going to do that? You're going to fix your teeth? Whatever. And, he was responding to questions. And I don't remember what it was that he said, but there was something that he said in response to one of Kay Slay's questions that made me go, you motherfucker, you're smart. You're smart, and you're pretending to be common and dumb. You're appealing to your base audience, to the lowest common denominator, because that's, the base is always the broadest part of anything, right? So he's trying to appeal to that base. So those who are really down here and not, they're kind of not really thinking, they're just kind of, in the worst state, as society goes or whatever, like you're trying to get to those people. Because once you've been validated with those people, then it's like, yeah, you're the real thing, because, the bad people or the hard people or the, however people look at, street cats or whatever, they are attracted to you. They give you the certification, So he played into that. I picked that up in this listening to this interview with him and Kay Slay, DJ Kay Slay. And at that point, I called Kay Slay while he was on there, and I said, yeah, yo, the kid sitting next to you, tell him that I want to meet with him tomorrow. The next day I go down there, me and my son, Ty Mills, comedian Ty Mills, we go down there. He's like 15 at the time. And we go down there, we go in. It's a pretty secure building, to get in, take it upstairs, get on the floor. Like you had to go through security, you had to have some kind of pass and code or whatever. We get inside the office is very secure. And we start, talking. He starts talking immediately. It's almost like he knows exactly what he wants to talk about, whatever. Very premeditated guy, right?
Though trying to seem like he's not.
Yeah, well, anybody if you've got an agenda, and you're trying to gain access to something, you don't say I have an agenda. You just implement your agenda. You know, that's what he did. He didn't say, hey, I got some things specifically I want to come away with in this, whatever. But you can tell by the way that he went into it that it took me about 10 minutes to realize that he knew about my past. He knew about, you know, the kind of lifestyle that I came from, whatever. He knew these things because he talked to me in such a way that I cut my recorder off. He was talking about Preem, and not in a bad way. He was just explaining to me what had transpired, what I may not and was not privy to, you know, gave me some backstory, whatever. And he kept saying, your man, and your man, and your man. And I was like, first I thought it was just like a colloquial reference. Then I realized, no, he knows that Supreme is my friend, you know? And I'm like, wow, how's he, he's talking to me like he knows me. So I said, okay, now, this is a smart young man, you know? Like, this is really a smart young man. And people don't see him coming. They don't know that this guy's this smart. There's nothing that he overtly does that the public would see that would give you the indication he's this sharp. So we bond immediately. And he wanted to be in the magazine, and he was willing to pay for his space. Within 25 minutes of being with him, not only would I was like, you don't have to pay to be in it, I said, you're going to be on it. You're going to be on the cover, right? That was Don Diva's strength. We weren't the biggest. We didn't have the largest distribution. We didn't have a whole bunch of money behind us. It was none of that. It was because I was on the ground and I was able to see things before it became apparent to everybody else that this was what's next. And that's what I saw with him. I see what the position he was in. You know, he's got Dre, he's got M, you know, he's got the streets. This is a perfect storm. This is happening. And he's sharp. This is happening. So I put him on the cover of the magazine. Most people had heard him, but they'd never seen him. And when I put him on the cover, it was our 3rd anniversary issue. When I put him on the cover, 2 months after I put him on the cover, he was literally on the cover of like every magazine in the country. So Don Diva was that center, you know, through which, or that system through which a person was verified by someone who was qualified and now certified. He recognized that and was like, I need to be in that, you know. It's just that he was able to leverage the opportunity in such a way to maximize it, to get on the damn cover.
What did Supreme tell you about 50 Cent?
So the conversation that Kenneth and I had, Supreme and I had, he calls me one night and he goes, yo, I see you fucking with the kid. I said, what you? I knew you talking about. I said, which kid you talking about? He said, the kid, you know, the kid. He won't say his name. It's the kid. I said, yeah, I fuck with the kid, man. I like him. He's a smart kid. He's very smart. You know, we talk virtually every day. From the time that we met, we had been in communication virtually every day through the two ways, virtually every day. You know, he was going to a meeting at some place. You know, things were still just happening for him. So he was going to a meeting at some place up in New Rochelle one time, a show or whatever. And he was asking me, you know, how should he approach this? You know, just how to deal best with this situation. I gave him my insight. That turned into a regular thing, pretty much every day, whatever he was doing. The night that Jam Master Jay got killed, he was supposed to meet me at Mars 2112. He calls me and says, yo, the cops are following me. They're behind me right now. I said, well, what are they doing? I said, you know, I'm standing in Mars 2112 in the lobby. I said, well, don't come here because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 8 homicide detectives here. I know they're homicide detectives because they're all wearing hats. That's what, how many, once they solve, they get their hat. They're all wearing hats. He's got a bunch of seasoned homicide detectives in this lobby right now, waiting for you to get here. Don't come here. He said, what should I do? I said, well, where you at? He said, I'm on the West Side Highway or whatever. I said, right, go to Jersey. Going over to Jersey. There ain't cops over there. Go on to Jersey and they'll get off your ass, and and we'll talk tomorrow, whatever. I told him in the first meeting, I said to him, once I turned the recorder off, I said to him, I said, look, this is, since you're speaking to me as though you're familiar with me, let me give you some particulars. And I told him things like, how I was raised, who my mother and father were, what kind of indoctrination I had, and, that the basis of my upbringing was that with which I cannot coexist must cease existence. He said, say that again. I said, that with which I cannot coexist must cease existence. He said, one more time. I said, that with which I cannot coexist must cease existence. He said, got it. I have a thing that I do. I've always done this. From my experience, of having people close to me be killed and so forth, whatever, I adapted this mindset of that with which I cannot coexist must cease existence. This was reinforced by my training, by my mother, by the other people in my family who were responsible for my development. So this is the dynamic of our relationship. He asks me questions, I give him insight and so forth. And that's how I got around to giving him the 48 Laws of Power, because he was asking me questions, I would give him the information, he would actually take the information and apply it. So, which is rare. People always ask and they rarely ever apply it. He listened, he assimilated the understandings and the information I was sharing with him. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna put you on to something. I said, but when you get this, cover the cover up, don't let anybody see you reading this. Now this is 2003, right? I had read the book a few years before. I got it from a girl named Deirdre. Shout out to you wherever you are, Deirdre. Good looking out. She was Snoop Dogg's road manager. And I met her, when me and Snoop and always hang out here in New York and all that. And she gave it to me in 2000. It had come out the year before. And so I put him onto it. And the things you start to see him do moving forth with the mixtape came out where he was performing. He basically redid everybody else's songs and made his own, pieces out of them, whatever. Went on tour with that. That had never been done before. He totally innovated that. And as he was moving through those steps in building his career, he was using the 48. He was, picking a certain level of opposition, which would immediately, in people's minds, make him equal to the opposition. So if you're beefing with somebody who's regarded in this way, on this level, regardless of who you are, if that person is responding to you, in people's minds, at least that person who they recognize as being high, recognize you as being high too. So now you get that person's audience and attention and so forth, whatever, and then you wait for them to present you with the information necessary for you to undermine them, You get them going, you get them talking, get them emotional, they start saying things and whatever, reacting, and you get to, play their weaknesses. This is what the 48, it elaborates on and helps you understand. I told them that, if whatever's gotten you to where you are now in your career, the hustle, the grind, answering every call, taking every meeting, I said, I got you this far. I said, but now that you're at this point, you cannot continue to operate like that, as attached to those tactics and behaviors as you may be. You cannot. So that's really what bonded us. That's what bonded us. His ability to receive information and apply it, and in a practical way. So we were tight. So when Preem calls me and says, yeah, so yeah, your kid, you talking to the kid, you dealing with the kid? He said, man, I don't like that kid, man. He said, man, the kid is smart. He's got good business sense. He picks up information real good. He tells me all these things. And I know these things because I'm experiencing these things. He picks up information really well and all that, whatever. But he's a user and he's not loyal. He said, and as soon as he thinks he's gotten all he needs out of you, he will drop you. And I was like, you've known him longer than I have. You know, you knew his mom and all that. He told me that. You know, his mother used to hustle with you, you know, work for you, whatever. I know y'all got history, whatever, you know. So people always ask what happened to the relationship. There was an incident where some people in Chicago had taken a chain from a young man, the spinner chain, the G, which I was with him the first time he wore that. We were in Cleveland, Ohio. First time he wore it on stage. First time he wore it, he had just gotten it. I think a lady had made it for him. And so, you know, I know the significance of this piece or whatever. So they called me and they said, look, you know, we just got this chain, 50 Cent's chain. You know, I said, how'd you get this chain? They said, well, this kid, nobody, was with Young Buck, and they were at the hotel. The kid takes the chain, unbeknownst to anybody else, Young Buck, anybody else, takes it, goes outside by himself in Chicago, and then tries to go up into a club and play celebrity for a night. Oh. But of course, they like, this is Chicago. You don't give a fuck. Get out of here, kid. You know what I mean? Now, the guys who took the chain, who he gave the chain to, because he gave them the chain, he's standing out there, they're standing out there because they won't let them in because they know what they do. So they're standing there, and then they watch what happens with them, and he's standing there, and then he turns around and looks at them, they look at him, they walk towards him, and he just takes the chain off and hands it to them. They don't say a word. He just hands them the chain, right? So they call me and they tell me this. I said, well, all right, what you trying to do? Yo, call him and see if he, if you want to buy back. So I call him.
Oh, so you knew who the people were?
Yeah, I know everybody. Yeah. So they call me and they're like, yo, this is what it is. I said, all right, let me call him. So I call him. He doesn't answer. This is like 11:30 at night. He doesn't answer, which is rare that he doesn't answer me. So I call Shah, and I tell Shah what happened. He said, oh shit, word? I said, yeah, they trying to see what's happening. He said, okay, let me call him. So he calls him. He calls me back in like 10 minutes. He goes, yo, he don't want to buy it back. I said, for real? He said, yeah, he don't want to buy it back. I said, okay. So I called him, I said, yo, he don't want to buy it back. They said, oh, okay, all right, let's do a story on it. I said, nah, for what? Like, what's the point of that? Like, I'm from the old school, the original school, as far as street shit is concerned. Why would you want to put your crime on blast? I don't get that. This is before Instagram, right? This is before street cats was really doing anything social media.
Pre-staging it.
Right, it's pre-staging. They want to get in the magazine claiming to have robbed this person for this chain. I said, I'm not facilitating that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it because, one, this guy right here is the only person who is spending continuous money with me. First of all, he bought a year's worth of ads, the inside cover, which anybody that's in the advertising business or the magazine business knows that inside cover is your most valuable real estate. It's like when you open the cover, that page and that page, that's your most pricey real estate, right? So he bought that for a year and paid it up front. And you want to talk about a chain you stole. And that's not going to add to my revenue. It's not going to be something that's going to get me more sales. And you are not going to give me no money. So what's the point of that? Forget about that. All right, no problem. Okay. So a week or so passes. I'm in the office, Don Diva office, and I'm talking to my partner. And it's like, yeah, some guys called and they got the chain and they want to do a story. And I'm like, no. We're not touching that. We're not messing with that. We're not going to mess with that because homie is supporting us. And he's got a lot of big things coming along. And we want to make sure that we stay in position where we can have complete and total access to that situation. So we're not fucking with that. Nah, but I think his shit is over though. He done all he's gonna do, whatever. I was like, I'm with this dude every day. Like y'all haven't begun to see what the fuck he's gonna do. Like he's just getting started. He's convinced that this is not gonna happen. I'm telling you it's gonna happen. So we ain't running that. Another week passes, right? You know, we came out 4 times a year. So another week passes, and I'm about to go on the road and catch up with him at some point. And I go by the office, the Don Diva office, to look at the layout before it goes out to the printer. And I'm scrolling. Everything looks good. And then this comes up. It's a little half of a page, right? And I'm like, it's pixelated, you know, faces holding. I'm like, yo, this is a problem. But there's no time. There was no sending digital files back then. We had to physically mail this shit. Had to go to Canada. Had to be, you know, they make the proofs. The proofs are this damn big. They gotta go airport, pick them up, bring them back, look at them, say they're cool, and then it's a process. So in order for us to be on that schedule, which we stayed on, that 90-day schedule, there was no time. This was the last day. So I had, it had to be run. There was nothing else to put in place of it. I was like, take that out, you know? And it was like, well, what are we gonna put in there? It's like, shit, I don't have anything. I put all my content in already. Like everything we got is here. Because that's what, Don Diva was the adventures of Cavario. That's what it was. Where I was, what I was doing, that's what you saw. That's what determined what was in it, right? So I said, yeah, but I'm gonna have to call him and tell him about this shit. But you know, I'm writing all the articles, doing all the interviews, chasing down all the ads, doing all the distribution. I'm completely overwhelmed. I forget to call and say, yo, this is what's happening. This is what I just seen it just now, right? I forget to call. So 2 weeks later, I'm about to get on the road. I'm at this spot, sitting in a chair, getting service, and my phone rings. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning. So I go, Sha, yo, what's up? Yo, man, what's up, man? You supposed to be our friend, man. What's that? What was that about in the magazine? And I said, what are you talking about? Like I hadn't seen the new issue yet. I'm gonna go pick it up when I am on my way out of town. You know, I'm in Harlem. I'm about to go across the bridge to Jersey when I'm done and fill up the van with magazines. Anybody who knows me and seen me, they know the van would be full from top to bottom, from back door all the way up to the front windshield. There's enough room for me and my bag, and the rest is all boxes of magazines. I got 5,000 magazines in there, and I don't come back until they're all gone, right? So I'm like, I don't know, what are you talking about? You heard that article about so-and-so, such, whatever? But they've been put out to the point where, you know, people are seeing them in New York or whatever. Because at this point, I've given all the spots that I've established for retail in New York to someone in the office, so I can leave town. I don't have to run around in Manhattan, the Bronx, and Harlem, and Queens, and Brooklyn, and all that, whatever, before I leave and then, you know, hit everywhere else. So the magazines are out. They've seen them. This is in there. Oh yeah, shit. I meant to call y'all and tell y'all about that shit. Some dumb shit, whatever. Man, you're supposed to be our friend, man. How could you do this, whatever. Now I'm not really understanding what the big actual deal of this is, but you know, whatever the mind frame is and whatever the idea is about, you know, how this brand is being represented and, you know, what is and what isn't detrimental, I guess, you know, this is looked at as, you know, something detrimental. You know, however, I'm not judging. That's how you felt about it. I understand that's how you felt about it. I understand I had nothing to do with it though. I didn't have shit to do with it. But that's your magazine, man. You know everything that's in it. Blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm with you on the road like 75% of the time. So if I'm everywhere you are, how do I know everything that's happening in that office? How do I know that? I don't know everything that's happening in the damn office, bro. I'm out on the road.
With you.
With you. What are you talking about? So, you know, he says it again now. First of all, I'm like, why are you calling me? Why is 50 not calling me? This never happened before. Like, what are you calling me for? Why is he not calling me? We have a relationship, a bond. Like, why are you and not him calling me? I don't like that. If you think that your friend did something that is out of character, this is not in line with anything that you've experienced from me before. So if you're perceiving that I suddenly flipped for no apparent reason, excuse me, why wouldn't you call me and ask like, yo, what's going on? Am I seeing what I think I'm seeing or am I misreading? So I'm like, look, I didn't know that it was going in there, and by the time I found out, it was too late. I should have called. I apologize for that. And we're gonna call Universal and tell them they'll run no more ads at you, and or whatever. I said, okay, now you're doing two things. You're doubting my integrity. You're calling me a liar, essentially. That's not good. That's really not good for you. And two, you're threatening the food on my table. Now it's fuck you. Don't call my phone no more. If 50 wants to talk to me, tell 50 to call me like he would for anything else. This is the first time anybody's ever heard this, by the way. I've never told anybody this. So that was that, right? I don't hear from him no more, whatever. We go about our business. When I finally see Lloyd and Yayo and I guess, yeah,
oh, you said
yeah, Lloyd, and little homie from Tennessee, Young Buck. I see them somewhere. I think we're in Florida, something like that, whatever. And they, yeah. They were happy to see me as a motherfucker because we spent a bunch of time together. They know what it is with me, right? And I'm like, yo, what's up, man? It's good to see y'all. Yada. I said, yo, take a picture with the mag. They was like, oh, we don't want to get in trouble. I said, what? He said, we don't want to get in trouble. I said, yo, you're a grown-ass man. I'm not trying to cause dissent or anything like that, but you are a grown-ass man. You're telling me that you're letting another man dictate whether or not you take a photograph of him? Are you serious? Okay, man. All right. So I'm getting a different perspective of who he is. Now, I understand running ship, tight. I understand that you don't want to leave your brand to, people to do however they want, whatever. You can control the quality of your shit in this presentation. I understand that. Okay, that's what it is. I don't see him no more, talk to him no more. Somebody I just talk to every day for like at least a year and a half, every day. I'm with them I'm with them at pivotal moments. When the album drops, we're all in a hotel downtown off of Park Avenue somewhere. It's a hotel that the girl, the Hilton, Paris Hilton, I think she owned it or some shit like that. We were in the hotel office. We sat in the room waiting for the numbers to come in. On the first album, whatever. I think it was his first album. Might have been Lloyd's, but his son is just a kid then or whatever. Marquise just a kid. He's like a little kid, like 3 or 4 or some shit like that. Little kid, 5 years old. We really spent a lot of time together and really bonded, whatever. And here it is, it's like nothing.
And just remind people, just give us a description one more time of all that went on was unbeknownst to you. This photo, was there a bunch of text with it? I mean, did it really make it look crazy? Or
no, it was a picture, a low res picture taken with phones from back then, which were like less than 3 megapixels, right? And like a megapixel and a half. Right? And then their faces were pixelated, as though that were necessary.
Oh, you blurred them, you mean? Yeah.
I didn't do shit. They were. I saw this in the layout. They're pixelated and they're holding the chain up.
Was any text?
And it was a some short little piece, like a half a page, just a short little piece or whatever. And I guess I don't know what it could have been described like. Are they confessing to? I don't know what that. Never read it.
Have you read it to this day?
I probably did a long time ago. After that happened, I probably read it just to see like what would it be that would be so offensive, to the point where you would undermine this type of relationship.
It wasn't anything like this is the photo of the guys who pumped 50 Cent and took it. It was nothing crazy like that.
No, they told it like it was. We took it off a little kid who took it from Young Buck.
So it was the real story.
Yeah, right. So that was that. That was that. So I don't hear from him no more. There's nothing no more. Whatever he's doing. And then all of a sudden I get a call from my partner, and he's she's saying that, hey, 50's over in the Bronx shooting a movie. You should go over there and holler. This is like 2 years later, maybe. He said he's over in the Bronx shooting a movie. You should go holler at him. I said, I should go holler at him? I should go over there and essentially apologize for something I had nothing to do with to someone who didn't have enough value for me to make sure that what they suspected or believed was actual and factual? That's not gonna fucking happen. That's not gonna happen. I'm not the one that said, nah, he's done, he's finished. Yeah, he ain't gonna do no more. I'm not the one that said that. I'm not the one that decided to put an article into the magazine that would undermine the most beneficial relationship that we had at that time. Hottest artist in the country, hottest artist in the world, with the biggest rap label in the world, you know, open door. I get whatever I ask for from Universal. I'm not the Interscope. I'm not the one that undermined that. I'm not doing that.
So to summarize, would it possibly be fair to say that what Cent and Supreme McGriff told you, he uses people and moves on, and that was just the excuse? He wanted a way to...
That's what it sounded like. When it all came together, I was like, this is exactly what Kenny said he would do. This is exactly what he said he would do.
Just looking for an excuse. So he took something minor, blew it up, and said, that's why I don't mess with that.
And that is exactly how that came out. And I never told him. I saw him. We spoke again finally when he had an effing meet and greet out in some suburban area outside the city. And I happened to hear it on the radio, and I was nearby, and I pulled up. Went in, grabbed a bottle, walked up with my head down, standing behind people. As soon as I walked up, he was like, oh, shit, yo. And it looked as though, as genuine as he can be, you know, because he's got a great degree, obviously, he's got a great degree of social intelligence, you know. And when you come from the kind of environments that we come from, he and I, we come from, you know, this street shit environment, whatever. There's a certain degree of sociopathy. You know what I mean? There's a certain degree, like there's certain antisocial personality traits you develop. You know, you're not really all that suited for proper interactions and relationship building. It's like a lot of times people are utilitarian. That's what it is. If you don't serve a particular purpose, because it's always you develop this thing about learning. You learn to use people. You know. This is what it comes down to. You don't have anybody around you that's not like serving a particular purpose. If they're not serving a purpose, then they're really just in the way, and that's what it comes down to. You know, the inability to develop really close relationships. You know, he has all those dynamics or whatever.
Well, he fell out with his son. I mean,
so that's what it is. So none of that surprises me, and none of it though I take personally. We connected, we reconnected. I never said, yo, you had that totally fucked up. I totally did not betray you or betray our friendship, and it didn't happen. But you didn't give a fuck enough about the relationship or the friendship to actually do some investigation for yourself to find out that didn't happen. You know, so, you know, it is what it is. We hung out for a couple of days, and I haven't seen him or spoke to him since. And I've always been proud of him, and I continue to be proud of him, because to come from that depth of, you know, struggle, and to rise to, you know, the point of doing as well as he came to do is one thing. But to maintain that is a whole other thing. And you can't take that away from him. He's special. Puffy's special. You know, Jay-Z's special. Not because they made it, but because they kept it. That's the trick. Getting it is one thing. Keeping it is entirely another thing.
So you have to be special to get it, and then you have to be a different kind of special to keep it.
That's
and
right.
They were both.
That's right. Because it goes back to what I was saying initially when I told him that what got you to where you are may not be sufficient to get you to where you want to be. You have to be adaptable.
Let me ask you
Those guys are adaptable. That's what makes them special. They're adaptable. They knew how to stop being who they were so they could be who they wanted to be.
Let me ask you maybe a weird question you don't have an answer to. From the perspective of 50 Cent, for getting, him trying to get where he wants to go, was it smart strategically to cut you off? Was that thing you printed, even though really if you had some sense you knew it wasn't anything derogatory, but most people that are fans of, they're 13, whatever. And did he need to, Don Diva was branded at a certain level, but then he was trying to become corporatized. Was that, being honest, or maybe it's too hard to think about, was that a smart move for him or no? Or I can't say.
I mean, having me as counsel, ask anybody. It's never been a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? He took enough of what I gave him to incorporate into what he already had to make it work for him towards growth. And he did. I mean, he went and found Robert Greene and created, another, tome, for that genre, of basically, pragmatism. It's pragmatism. It's learning how to be practical, act practically, think practically, move practically.
Could he have felt like keeping someone like you too close to him? I mean, you don't strike me as like this, but I haven't been around you that much. But could he have perceived that you would have been the power behind the power?
I mean, he's definitely paranoid. So he could have entertained that, and some of his behavior might have been based on that as a general condition of his thinking. You know what I mean? Like, anybody that knows him might answer that question as like, yeah, he's definitely the kind of person who definitely doesn't want it to seem as though there's anybody behind him.
And you're in the same generation of Supreme, you were buddies with Supreme, you're kind of like in his head occupying that same space to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, this is speculation on your behalf and my behalf, whatever. But because, like I said, we never had that conversation. But speaking from observation, that is absolutely plausible, man. It's definitely plausible that he had those kinds of thoughts at the basis of his behaviors. So I don't think he said at some point I'm going to stop fucking with this guy. But it's like, if I come to the conclusion that I cannot bring this guy up under me or into my ranks or whatever, then he could potentially siphon power or control or perception from me being in my proximity, And he took the 48 to heart. I watched how different aspects of the 48 began to come out of him. He was predisposed to that behavior. That, in its essence, the 48 laws of power is sociopathy. It's antisocial behavior, right? So I could see that he was predisposed to that. But anybody who comes from the environment we come from, him, Kenneth, myself, we're all predisposed to that type of behavior, because that type of behavior is kind of called for if you want to prevail, let alone survive in that environment.
Could the 48 laws of power just as easily be called the 48 laws of manipulation?
48 laws of manipulation, the 48 laws of human nature, the 48 laws of survival, exponential survival.
Raised by wolves, inside the life and mind of a guerrilla hustler. Intro. As a child, in the constant presence of gangsters, I overheard a lot. I remember hearing it said that it's better to be feared than to be loved. I remember gangsters who tried to live on love, and I remember that it almost always ended badly for them. But then, many of the feared didn't fare too well either. I remember an afternoon in a Harlem classroom long ago, after collecting a writing assignment from me. My first grade teacher, whose name I no longer recall, said, "You write well, Cavario. You could be a writer." I remember sneering and remarking, "A writer? I'm gonna be a gangster."
The block getting scarred up, rob 'em. Meet you up Edgecombe, the dead zone. Base heads is happy, crooks is tacky, $5 hustlers, sharp as fuck, rockin' khaki. Niggas in the hallway, raw way. One light out, waiting to stick up, to slide to the hideout. Gangsters been blowing piff, we got an older gift, live it. That time it meant get time, I'm on the average when I'm fucking. But far as that leg go, I'm strutting. 100 pellets in your face chuckling. Niggas is niggas, but that ain't me, I'm a super nigga.